What's up, everybody? It's Sunday, July 18th. Doing a weekend swing trade newsletter watch list. It's not a newsletter. Start up with the futures here are red, which is not good for my 434 calls on SPY. Let's take a look here. We've been in this, been looking at this channel this whole time. If you go back and watch any of the videos, talked about this. When we dip out, we touch this trend line, or really we've just been staying along the 50. This is the, I think it is. I better double check. Yeah, 50-day moving average on the SPY. When we get down to it, we bounce. Get down to it, bounce, bounce, bounce. So we might come back down to it around 425 area and bounce. I talked last time I made a video that will kind of make this pattern and then back up and then down. That's my plan. That's why I'm in calls, not puts. Even though I want the SPY down to 390. 390 I've been saying forever. It's just way too extended. It's not going to last forever. SPY is actually the strongest of all the ETFs. We talked about a double bounce off of prior support, which I would consider this channel as this bottom line as support. We didn't quite touch it like I hoped, but pretty dang close. That was my alarm to short it, and look, it didn't ever trigger. Didn't actually trigger. It never touched my line. So I didn't get inputs. I missed that one. But anyway, we got two bounces here. 1, 2, and then we bounced. So I plan on putting a head and shoulders here, back up, and then we'll get in our puts around 436, 437 area, and then we'll ride her down to this trend line again. If we don't bounce, our first target should be the 50 MA. So let's make our first target like 428. But don't get inputs yet. Don't get inputs yet. Don't get inputs yet. I could be wrong, and we just sell off because COVID 2.0, and that's what we did last time. Last time we were due for a correction. We got too far away from the 50 MA, and we just gapped down overnight, and we got gapped below the 50 MA, and everybody said, "Oh yes," and they sold. Still bounced, came back, retested moving average, sold off. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to plug my computer in. I always forget to do that before I make a video. Anyway, so let's look at SPY, not yet. Don't short SPY yet. The Qs, there's a little bit of support here. I would expect a bounce higher, and then we short at 364.50, or even wait for it to curl back down and get in 363, and then we could start selling off. First target would be the 50 MA. Actually, this one's been breaking the 50 MA pretty good. So let's just say this trend line, why am I doing that? This trend line here will be our target, somewhere around 335 area will be our first target. But again, do not I'm not going to short yet. I'm not going to short yet. We can put in a head and shoulders here. 1, 2, 3, and then sell off. We could even go down to here. We could even go down 50 MA, be 313, or we could just crash. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that yet. Even if we do crash, look at this. Even if we do crash, and they say COVID, lock down the world, whatever. Look, there's always a bounce, and it's always 50% bounce. We got here, we bounced. So then you can get back in at a Fibonacci level because the secret government runs the world. There's always a bounce. So when you get too oversold on the daily RSI under 30, you want to start thinking about calls. That's why I got in. Calls on Friday because we're at we were at 21 on the RSI. So I expect us to wake up and we are back up here. Let's say when we get back to 435, then you can start thinking about puts. When we get back into this resistance area, see here, sold off, sold off, sold off. This actually turned to support here, kind of support, but it broke it. And then we broke down, and now it's resistance again. See how magical this is? Man, this stuff's so amazing. So let's do this. Buy calls, get back up here, then buy long-term puts for September around the 435, 436 area. We'll get this head and shoulders and crash. And if it's a real COVID crash, then we can do the 19 to a million challenge in 7 days, and we'll be done. We'll all be millionaires. That's where the money's made in puts. People, here, look, here's an example. NVIDIA. How many days did this take? It's going to make me sick moving that fast. 1, 2, 3, actually it's more than that, because it was this first igniting candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then we started to come back down. 15, 16, 17 days worth of buying gone in 3-4 days. That's why I love puts. Now, NVIDIA is probably going to bounce too. We're sitting at 50 MA. You could probably, if we got down to 695, buy some calls for the split. Here's something that you need to know about splits, and it only works sometimes, but when things get included into ETFs or when they split, what happens is you have all these funds, hedge funds, and you have the funds like ETFs, like SPY. And what they do is they start buying shares, and they can't buy 100 million shares in 1 week. So what they'll do is they'll buy it over the next quarter. So Moderna, this day, they said, and these people already knew, this was insider trading, but these people knew that the funds were going to have to start buying Moderna because Moderna is now included in the SPY. And so what will happen is everybody bought here. They're like, oh my gosh, it's free money because this is going to be included in the SPY. So it's going to be worth $1 billion, right? But actually what happens is down here, when it does get included in the SPY, in whenever it is, December, November, then all the people that bought right here are going to be selling into those funds. Now, retail traders like us are going to think, oh my gosh, I need to buy Moderna because it's getting into the SPY. But you don't want to do that because that's when it goes down. All the people that are buying right here are going to be selling as soon as it gets included into the SPY. So, let's say we had, this could be ending volume because we've been in an uptrend, but I almost consider it igniting volume because you could make the argument that we've been in this channel for so long that this is igniting volume. And I'm looking at our next target. This is always in my way no matter where I'm at. Our next target, look at this. We broke it. That's what the igniting volume was. We broke out of resistance. So, let's say Moderna December. I don't know. Look for calls on Moderna. It's not going to come down yet. If it breaks below this, that's where everybody's stop loss is. And then we'll fill this gap really fast. But don't get in puts unless you break 270. Get in 270 by puts, and then when you break this line, get in puts again down here. But for right now, I'm looking at calls. I'm looking at ridiculously explosive move to 400 on Moderna, 600 on Moderna, something just Tesla stupid. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to be buying probably 300 calls for October, November. Is what I'm going to be looking at. Anyway, that wasn't even my watch list, but remember like 3 weeks ago I was making this like big list of like 137 stocks to cover, and drugs were on my list and I didn't take it because I didn't believe in it. Wish I would have done that. This week, long, Yalla. I like Yalla. We kind of broke the trend line here. However, now we put in a double bottom with a higher low. So if you can zoom in here a little bit, this is opposite of the, let's look at this. Hold on. AMD, this video is getting too long again. This was a put that we made this week in the small account challenge. We broke support and then retested it and then sold off. So your pattern that you're looking for is this. Break it, retest, and then fail. On the same way, you want it up. You want calls the same way. Here's your resistance. We broke it, retested it, and bounced. Look at this. So let's get in calls on Yalla, and let's complete this move up to 20 bucks on Yalla. ACI. This one looks kind of like, actually one we're still in for long term was, oh my gosh, what was the name of it? Vail. Vail. Now this one could fail pretty easily, but we kind of got the apple pattern going on here, right? Higher lows, flat top. So if we can bounce here and get higher. My stop loss is down here somewhere. 21 bucks, 21.50 for I don't remember what we got in September calls. August calls, 23 calls. Because when we break that, we can get crazy again. I don't even know what Vail is. some kind of stock. Veil long, 23 calls, same pattern, ACI, Albertsons, oh, that's a grocery store. This one's got, oh, this one a new one? Even better. This one's got resistance here, 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 but we're putting in higher lows, so I assume we're just going to break out. So we'll get in 20 calls on ACI. The IGC still looks good. Same pattern as before. Same pattern as YALA and AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. We had this resistance. We broke it. Now we kind of broke back down under it, but if you look closely, we've got bottoming tails. That means the buyers step in. So this is now, this area is now support. We'll just say, now this channel, see where it had such a hard time getting through? This channel is now going to serve as support down to the, I think this is a 50 MA. So we'll make that our stop loss. Let's do this, because this was resistance, now it's going to be support. So our stop loss would be 57.50 by calls, probably 60 calls, and your target is going to be to break out of this downward channel. Your first target will be the channel. I don't know, I'll write it exactly later at 69, something like that. But hopefully we can break out of it, retest, and then go back to craziness. BIGC long, CHD long. This one I like is a different pattern, but we had resistance, now it's support. We kind of dipped lower and we put in the lower low here. So I'm getting in this one early, and it's kind of a 50-50. However, I really like this ending volume. That's where the buyers stepped up. That's the biggest volume we've had since February of 19. It's bigger volume than COVID crash. And in the COVID crash, it never really crashed. This is CHD, Church & Dwight. They make on all, I think they make baking soda or something. I don't know. Anyway, we've got another downward trend. We broke a support, and now we've got a support area here. This is now support. So I want to get in calls if we can break this topping tail, 87.75 area. If we break that, I'm going to get in calls. First target will be 90, but if you get into September, we can get back up here and retest these highs at 95. Now, if the whole world crashes, then none of these are going to work. But that's what we take stop losses for. So let's look at puts. UPST. This is same pattern that we used for our small account challenge. We have we might come up a little bit on this one still, but we kind of have this consolidation. We broke below it twice, but now we're coming back up to test it, and around 118, 119 area, I'll be looking to get puts back to the, so we'll do, broke it, come back up, back to this area, 82, and this one moves so fast, it might just, I don't know when the earnings are, we need to look, but it might fill this gap and get all the way down here to the 60 area. That'd be sweet. Same thing, UPS, UPST and UPS. This one's a little bit different. This one, we're going to try to just day trade, and then we'll get back in as a swing, but it might just fail because last time it did. It gapped down. This is what I'm thinking about Moderna. See this? Huge igniting volume, breaking out. You had a rally. And then up here, after it chops around for a while, then we can short Moderna. So this one actually bounced off of the 50 MA and rode it back up. However, I think it's going to bounce, let's see, about the 200. That'll be our target. 200 MA will be our target. That was a pretty good guess I had there. We have an area of resistance right here. This whole area is resistance. So once we break below Friday, it might be able to just get in. So we'll get in, puts, 209, 210 puts. You could even get into 206, 205 puts for July and ride that down for a nice ride down. Hopefully filling this gap eventually. That's where the 200 MA is. Our long-term target is 180 on UPS. CAR is the new one. This one's not going to go much further. We might just skip that one, but I think CAR is the same pattern. We had this was resistance. It came up. It bounced hard. This is almost an engulfing candle. So now if we can break this, then we'll ride it down to the 200 MA and get the 60. So 71 to 60 would be a sweet move for CAR. ALL insurance isn't looking very good. This one gapped way down, or no, it gapped down and sold way off and came all the way back up. But it's holding this. We'll see. I think this is going to refill down here. It might take some weeks. We might skip that one, or you might have to get into December, August 30th, or September puts on Allstate. It looks like it kind of put in a. Wish I would have seen that one earlier too. Kind of put in a channel here. So I don't know, but we'll try it. Try it short. 130 puts down to 115 area. ATUS is my last one. It's sitting at support. Why did I do this one? Why did I do this one? Let's not do that one. Or that. I don't know why I chose that one. That one looks like it might go long. This one, so here's where everybody thinks that the price should be. Buyers and sellers are equally content with the price being around $35. Why did I choose this one? I don't know why I chose this one. Because actually, over this box, 35 bucks, 35.20. Let's say over 35.20, get in calls. Under 33.20, get in puts. I don't know why I chose that one as on my put list. That one's kind of a lotto. And then finally, XLF, short the banks. Banks are junk. We came down, bounced. Now this is an area of resistance. So I would expect us just to, that was a big engulfing candle there. We're probably going to open up down here again. We'll probably open around 35 bucks. This time, look at this. It gaps down, and then we buy it back up. It gaps down, and we buy it back. And when these gaps happen, those are institutions selling. They don't want to. They want to sell their millions of shares at night. They don't want to wait for the market to open, or else they'd crash the market. So they're selling their shares. When institutions are selling their shares, you need to keep an eye on that. Look how many times this is gapped down. Big gap down here. Big gap down here. Big gap down. Big gap down. Probably have another big gap down to 35. And I would assume this time it's just going to sell off. So let's do XLF 35 puts, or even 36 puts tomorrow off the open, and look for a crash in the banks back down to this area, 33, 28. 200 MA is 32, so let's say 32 will be our official target back here on this flat top, and we'll see if we can break this. Look here, we've got resistance will probably be support around 31.40, so we'll sell before then. But short the banks, XLF, C, same thing, big time resistance. This one can drop pretty fast. 1, 2. First target on C, 65 puts. Target 57. Next target's 40. Short the banks. Something's happening here. Let's check what SPY futures are doing before I leave you guys. Still hugging that moving average. Still going down, but we kind of have a flat bottom here. So we might get a bounce overnight. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we get a bounce and a rally to 35, and then we can buy puts. So that's all I got. That's a lot. Last one is Netflix Lotto. Tuesday is earnings Tuesday night. And this sucker moves. Here's what I would expect. Here's how earnings work. Okay. This was our last earnings. Let me get my pencil. This was our last earnings. And I think I called like the first week or so that I was with Jake's group. It said 435 puts. It never went that far, but it did gap down. Now, here's what's interesting. So when it gapped, this was the last earnings. Selling, 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 selling. And then it got caught up here, but the sellers weren't done. So it crashed. Here's what's going to happen this time. More selling, then buying. Buying, 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 buying. So it's going to gap up. It's going to gap up above resistance. Let's say Netflix 560. Netflix 560 calls as an ER lotto, earnings lotto. And if we can break above that area, then Netflix will run like Nvidia and Apple. Apple earnings are going to be the same way. They're going to gap up because after our, look at this. Here's their last earnings. Always in my way. Here's their last earnings. Somewhere over here. Selling, 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 selling. And then it went down. Now we have buying, 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 buying. And it might dip down a little bit. But what's going to happen is all these people with buy orders are going to get filled after earnings. And it's going to shoot up. So that's how earnings work. Earnings have nothing to do with the numbers that they report. It has all to do with the direction the stock has been moving. If all these buyers, now here's the question, is will this gap up mean all the buyers are out. You had high volume and we gapped up, which might mean that's an ending move and all the buyers that wanted to buy have bought. But we'll see. I think it's going to gap up. I think Apple's going to go up. I think Netflix is going to go up. But I could be wrong. We'll see. We might gap down again to fill this gap. There's a little gap here. But I'm going to be buying 560 calls on Netflix for earnings. You guys have a good night. See y'all later.